Hi everybody. So it has been a minute since I've last posted on here, whether it be a Britney impression or some other impression or commentary about something. I think the last time was circa 2020, maybe 2021, about everything going on. And I just like to say that it takes me a lot to feel upset about something. It doesn't happen very often. So me feeling compelled to make a video, it's struck that nerve again. And this video, I don't want it to be politically tinged, but unfortunately, that's how the nature of things are nowadays. That's how the landscape is. That's how the geography of how we interact with each other is pointing fingers at each other. I want to be very clear that this is not geared towards the regular run-of-the-mill liberals, Democrats, and I am coming from the side of, yes, a conservative speaking point, the same side that CharlieKirk came from, because I think it's important to aim this video to the left. When I say the left, I mean the ones celebrating his assassination. So that's what this video is primarily about, because I don't think it's a political issue. I think it is an issue of humanity and the lack of it. So again, the individuals on both the right and left side of the aisle who were mourning, are mourning, and pointed out how wrong the assassination was, thank you. You are not being talked to in this video. This video is specifically towards the individuals who are mocking and celebrating what happened. We've come a long, long way from really the values that I remember growing up with, and I'm not that old. I'm a younger millennial. Like, this is not that long ago. But it just seems that, the traditional values that we were raised on about loving your neighbor as yourself and being respectful, polite, saying thank you, please, and giving the shirt off our back to someone in need, it feels like a lot of that has gone away, which is sad. And I do think social media has something to do with it, has a big part to do with it, unfortunately, with the immediacy of gratification, the immediacy of, if you don't like something, you could just scroll past it or comment that you don't like it, and you don't face any repercussions. So you don't care about offending anybody's feelings, things like that. However, there is a very, very distinct line drawn when you are celebrating the assassination of someone just because they had a differing viewpoint. It's even more annoying and hurtful when now I'm talking to you folks who celebrated this. So you don't like CharlieKirk, you never did, and now you're pretending to defend him by pointing fingers at his side for what happened. It doesn't make sense. If his partner is trans and your whole premise is that conservatives are not supportive of trans, is it suddenly accepted then that conservatives can support trans? Like, it's just very confusing, and obviously there's logical fallacies. So that's what I'm expressing, because it's just so inhumane, the messages that I have seen about celebrating his murder, celebrating who's going to be next on the conservative side. It's wrong. Okay? People are celebrating as if we went after, the ISIS leader, or went after Al Qaeda, or went after the Unabomber. As painful as it is to think that, unfortunately, evil must be stopped in extreme measures in order to stop the metastasis of evil, there has to be a targeted approach with eliminating evil. And for the longest time, I was not comfortable with that. I always said there has to be another way. But then the more I grew up and saw that their mindset, the criminal mindset, it's not the same, and they don't just back down. They don't just stop. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they recognize what they've done. But the way that people are celebrating this, they're acting as if a terrorist was put in his place, eliminated to stop the evil. And that is what's dangerous. I was afraid that apathy would show up, which it has, as we saw with the slain, the stabbing of Iryna, the Ukrainian girl. If that didn't infuriate you, watching bystanders just sitting there and maybe in their minds thinking, oh man, that's bad, but I don't want to ruffle any feathers, I don't want to get involved. Enter social media mindset, which that's encouraged, because we learn to ignore whatever's on the screen, right? You see something horrific and you might have like an internal reaction that lasts 3 seconds, and then you just scroll past. But this is different. Charlie advocated for dialogue between both sides. And he was taken out for that. So does that mean we no longer can express our opinions? Because in 2020, half the population couldn't express their opinions out of fear of doxing and, being fired from their jobs just for leaning a certain way, and denouncing all the violence, the domestic terrorism that, yes, took place during 2020. And if you're going to tell me that you don't know what you're talking about, that never happened, there's plenty news articles, plenty images to show that we are not the same. The way that CharlieKirk's assassination is resulting in vigils and peaceful prayer, mourning in silence, grieving in silence, hoping for some peace to come of this, versus people burning and looting cities and throwing Molotov cocktails at cops and killing people. It's not the same. That is terrorism. That is domestic terrorism. So to be called that, to get that word thrown towards, the conservative side, or at least the side that is mourning CharlieKirk, is just, it's a huge fallacy. But I think what hurts the most is seeing that people are celebrating the murder. Those people are not celebrating or are not denouncing Che Guevara. They're not denouncing Hugo Chavez. They're not denouncing Fidel Castro. But they are saying that we are similar to Hitler. They don't understand that that's an oxymoron. So it's very frustrating. It seems like we're being shoved in a corner and being like having a hand around our necks, basically asphyxiating us, and still saying that we're attacking them. So It's really sad. It's really sad how we got here. Never in a million years did I think people would be apathetic towards assassination. The party, the people who want to preach love and unity and acceptance are doing the exact opposite of all of that. And I recognize this video is 10 minutes long, so I'm just going to stop here. But those who are saying, oh, it's one of the MAGA, it's one of the right leaning, you can't win. You really cannot win. You hated CharlieKirk, and now you're trying to defend him because it's convenient to you, because you don't want to be called out for the hypocrisy that you express. You don't want it to be someone on your side of the aisle because it's so horrendous, yet you support the horrendous act. But if it is a MAGA person, no, you want it to be MAGA, yet he's trans, then you're accepting that MAGA and conservatives do support trans, which is already true. There are Republican trans folk. It's just a different flavor of reality versus not reality. There's just a lot of hypocrisy, and as much as I want to restore the mutual respect that really, it wasn't that long ago that it was here, at least in my lifetime. I'm sure during the 60s and 70s, there was something very similar. But to see actively people celebrating that someone was just taken out for doing nothing, he didn't harm anybody. Words